Michelle Obama has just finished a very passionate speech praising Hillary Clinton and denouncing Donald Trump. In a red state, the Democrats are now working to try to turn blue. Gloria, we're talking about Arizona. That's a state that until recently, the Democrats really didn't have much hope for, but now they think it is definitely in play.
Let's do a little Arizona history here, just to give you a sense of the import of this. Hillary right now is up 5 points in Arizona. Could go either way. Romney won Arizona and lost the election, but won Arizona by 9 points. In 15 of the last 16 presidential elections, Arizona has been won by Republicans. The only one who didn't, this is a quiz, the only one who didn't, who won was a Democrat, was Bill Clinton in 1996. So it's kind of stunning, actually, that Arizona is in play. And we know why that is. Hispanic voters, obviously. But if Donald Trump has to turn some blue states red, or keep all the Romney states, this isn't a way to do it. As I said, Romney won it by a large margin.
He definitely needs Ohio. That's a key state. He was ahead in Ohio, according to the polls, just a week or two ago. But take a look at this Suffolk University poll out of Ohio. Hillary Clinton, 45%. Donald Trump, 45%. If he loses Ohio, Hillary Clinton can afford to lose Ohio and still become president. He can't lose Ohio and become president.
Well, right. His message is resonating in parts of Ohio, particularly the blue collar and steel workers and tradesmen. That's really who he's talking to. But the story here is gender gap. He lost women again in Ohio, and more men are now voting for Donald Trump. But these comments through September, it's really starting to sink in and hurt him.
That same poll, by the way, the Suffolk University poll in Ohio, David Swerdlick, on the Senate contest, the Republican Rob Portman, 46%, the Democrat only 31%. So while it's 45-45 in the presidential contest, the Republican Senate candidate is doing pretty well.
Yeah, and Senator Portman is a well-respected guy across a wide range of the spectrum, even though he's definitely an establishment guy. I think in Ohio, he's going to be doing fine. I still think Trump might pull something off in Ohio. But if you look at Arizona and Ohio, it's kind of like what our colleague Ron Brownstein wrote about a few weeks ago. The Rust Belt and the Sun Belt are starting to shift in terms of which goes red and which goes blue.
But if you're Rob Portman and you're winning your race, and perhaps Donald Trump will lose or contest or whatever in that state, how do you feel if Donald Trump is saying, well, this may not be legitimate?
It's rigged.
It's rigged, but you're winning.
But the Republican Senate candidate
right, you're
wins.
a Republican Senate candidate. You're winning.
And what happens in Arizona if it goes for Hillary? For Hillary Clinton? What happens to John McCain, who made a gamble very early on in his reelection campaign by hitching his wagon to Trump?
But he's unhitched it recently.
Yes,
He
correct.
sawed that hitch.
Right, but I think that might be, he kind of was on the wrong side of the fence at the wrong time, each time.
Right.
What happens to the Senate veteran if Arizona breaks for Clinton?
I want to play, Julia, because you're an expert on Russia. I want to play this exchange. Russia came up in the debate last night, the cyber attacks on U.S. institutions, Democratic Party institutions specifically. Listen to this.
Putin, from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States of America, that you encouraged espionage against our people.
So what's your take on this, what the president called this bromance between Donald Trump and Putin?
Well, as effective as Donald Trump's "I'm rubber, you're glue" defense was, the fact is, and you had Pete Hoekstra on here earlier saying that, evidence is inconclusive, but actually, if you look at the statement put out by U.S. intelligence agencies, they were actually quite clear on what they have evidence on and what they don't have evidence on. They were quite clear that they're very sure that the Russians were behind the DNC hack and that they passed it to WikiLeaks. They were less sure that the Russians are hacking voter registrations and voting machines, but they're sure that they're coming from a Russian company. They just don't know the tie to the Russian government. That said, as soon as it became clear that Donald Trump was the front runner in the Republican primary, Kremlin TV, which is an accurate reflection of the Kremlin line. It is a mode of propaganda. Over 90% of Russians use it as their main source of information, has been pulling very, very heavily for Trump, saying that he is in favor of a healthy isolationism, which of course plays well in Russia because Russia wants to expand. And if the U.S. contracts, there's more room for Russia to expand. They've been bashing Hillary Clinton the whole entire time, saying that if she's in power, she's going to start a war with Russia. And now you have a Kremlin TV channel and a media organization associated with the Russian Defense Ministry saying we're actually building several dozens of nuclear bunkers that would fit basically the entire population of Moscow in preparation for Hillary Clinton's presidency because she's going to start a nuclear war with us. So if that's not the Kremlin kind of being very clear about who they want to win this presidential election, I don't know what is.
And what's also embarrassing, Gloria, today is that President Obama's email when he was about to be elected president of the United States, John Podesta was his transition coordinator, his transition advisor. All of a sudden, WikiLeaks leaks some of those Obama emails today. How embarrassing, how awkward is that?
Well, it is. It's embarrassing. It's awkward. He wasn't president yet. But again, you have to look at the political motivation of all of this. I think we'd be foolish to believe that these leaks aren't politically timed, politically motivated, and you have all these intelligence agencies, more than a dozen, saying, look, this is a Russian hack, period, aimed to influence our election. That is a big story. I will say that last night in the debate, Hillary Clinton got asked a question on WikiLeaks, which, by the way, she did not answer, and deflected it into this question of the Russian hack. I think it's a legitimate issue to discuss, particularly since Donald Trump does not seem to be willing to.
Very quickly, Julia.
Well, and you're never seeing WikiLeaks leak anything that could in any way be harmful to the other side.
And you know they have it.
Or they don't have it because the Russians don't care enough to have it. That said, Julian Assange has portrayed himself for years as this beacon of transparency and accountability for governments. He has shown himself in the last year to be essentially an agent of the Russian state. Because if he were to do just one leak of, let's say, Ivanka Trump's emails, he would look more transparent and he could, or more even-handed, he could continue leaking these Clinton emails. But he hasn't done that. It's very clear whose camp he's in and who's feeding him the information.
All right, guys, everybody stay with us. Don't go too far away. We're going to continue our analysis. Also, we're getting new information here in the Situation Room about North Korea's failed missile launch. We're now learning the test was set up for a very important visitor.